So I'm in the Nova and I have the really big itch to drive this car around the block. So I'm going to take you along. So let's see how this car runs. It's going to be the first time I ever drive the car fully, like around the block. So it's going to be pretty great, you know, fully complete. Drive the car fully complete, so it's going to look like a real car. So here we go. Gonna go one more time around the block. So here's a Nova outside on the side of the road, and I have to say it looks really, really nice. Really nice. It's nice and sunny outside, so it looks really shiny. Metallics are popping. See if I can get a good shot right there of the stance. And now looking at the stance, I could drop it 2 inches on the back. You can see it has that slight rake. I could drop it 2 inches just to get it more evened out. So I'll have to look into doing that. Give a walk around the car. Those new chrome bumpers look really sweet. I don't know if you can pick up the metallics. I mean, it's just really billions and billions of metallics. I still need the emblem for the back here. And of course exhaust. It needs exhaust. So there it is. Really like it. I really like the 454, the way it looks on the hood. Just looks sweet. Really, really sweet looking. So she goes back in the hole, right back in the garage. But at least she got to experience what it feels like to be outside and to, you know, stretch out her wheels, get some pavement flowing under those tires. Sweet. One more look around the car. One more pass, because it just looks so beautiful. And the reflections are just amazing on it. You can see that reflection. It just looks, really look like a mirror, a red mirror. And no side markers, so the whole side of the car looks clean. No side markers. Really, really nice. Really nice. So, time for her to go back home. So the car is back in the garage. I had a lot of fun driving the car around the block a couple times. It was definitely something I enjoyed and something that I wanted to do. But in part, it wasn't just a joyride. It was to test out a couple of the components of what makes this car a car. Since I spent all this time working on it, wanted to make sure that everything that I did to it up to this point is working before putting it into service and actually, you know, driving it on the freeway. One of the things that I definitely needed to check out was the cooling system. Now, the cooling system, in order for me to check for leaks, I need to get the pressure up. And one of the best and fastest ways to get that pressure up is to get the engine up to temperature. And driving the car definitely gets the engine up to temperature because it's now under a load. So I know that coolant was being forced into the reservoir because this hose got hot, which also means that the pressure was up. And so I was able to check out to see if I had any leaks on these connections because I did work on the heater hoses. And behind the fender, the heater hose actually has a valving system that Vintage Air actually included as part of the kit, the install kit. And so I had to make sure that there's no leaks on that as well. The other part that definitely needed to be checked for leak was the inside, the interior of the car, where the heater hoses connect to the Vintage Air unit itself. And I did my thorough checks under the dashboard and I didn't have any leaks, so that was a good thing. Another thing that needed to be checked out, which is definitely something very important, is the braking system. Now, brakes are life and death. You definitely have to have them working if you're going to be driving a car. And so with me replacing everything on the braking system, from rotors to calipers to pads, cotter pins, bearings, all the braking lines, the fluid, master cylinder, power brake booster, proportion valve, check valve, hoses, everything that had to do with the braking system was replaced. So making sure that they work was definitely of utmost importance. And so I took the car up to about, I would say 20-25 miles per hour and then abruptly hit the brakes. Now the first thing I wanted to see was, because this car is or has power brakes because of the way I built the system, I wanted to make sure that the power brakes are working nice and easy. And sure enough, it was working. The pedal feel was firm, at the same time very easy to apply as far as the braking goes, and the brakes did stop the car very efficiently. I did from, I would say, 20 miles per hour to 0 very quickly, and it did stop the car nicely, despite of all the weight that this car is carrying with the 454, the
the steel bumpers and all the other stuff that this car has. So the brakes worked great. The transmission was something else I needed to check, because since I never drove the car, I didn't know how the transmission worked. And this is a 3-speed turbo hydromatic 350, and so that transmission, the transmission that's in this car, actually went through 3 gears when I was, driving. But for the 3rd gear, I need to drive it over 35 miles per hour. So I did get to feel what it feels like to go into the shifts, and the shifting was nice and smooth. So I'm happy about that. To get the full feel of the 3rd gear, I need to put it out on the roads and maybe put it on the freeway, but that won't happen until the car is put into service. But overall, I'm very happy with the way it's shifting, so I know the transmission is working smoothly. There's no slipping or anything like that. It accelerates nicely, so I'm happy with that. The final thing that I needed to make sure it worked was the suspension system. Because I have the car dropped and it's pretty low to the ground, I wanted to ensure that as I'm driving the car, making the turns, going over bumps, the various scenarios that I would put the car under when I'm driving it, I wanted to make sure that there's no rubbing anywhere on the fender, the inner fender, anywhere on the car. And as I drove it, I didn't feel any rubbing, I didn't hear any rubbing, so that worked out to be very good. So overall, I'm definitely very happy with the results so far. I had a lot of fun, even though it wasn't, driving over long distances. It was a lot of fun to finally get to drive it, and I hope you guys enjoyed sitting in where I was sitting, because I put the camera in the driver's seat. Hopefully you guys had that virtual ride and enjoyed it as much as I did. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you very much for watching.